Hey, unbreakable souls. Imagine a glass of water sitting perfectly still, so clear that you can see straight to the bottom. Every detail beneath the surface appears sharp, calm, and undisturbed. Now picture someone walking by and bumping the table. The water begins to shake, turning cloudy, swirling around until, for a moment, you cannot see anything clearly anymore. Not the bottom, not the truth, nothing. Just chaos inside the glass. That glass of water represents your mind. Every single morning something bumps the table. An alarm rings, a thought appears, a message arrives, or a memory from yesterday returns. Suddenly, everything inside you begins moving, swirling, reacting, and you try to make wise decisions, speak calmly, and think clearly through water that has not even had a moment to settle. This is not a flaw in your character. It is simply the way the mind works. And the Stoics, more than 2,000 years ago, long before anyone talked about mindset, already understood this. Marcus Aurelius wrote in his private journal, the work we now know as Meditations, that the first rule is to keep your spirit undisturbed, and the second is to face things directly and understand them for what they truly are. In other words, still the water first, then look through it, not the other way around. Because here is something most people never tell you about reacting quickly. Speed is not the same as strength. Responding in 2 seconds does not make you powerful. It only means the bumped table spoke before the water had time to become calm again. It means the swirling reaction answered before clarity had a chance to appear. Think about the people you admire for their calm presence, the ones who rarely seem shaken, the ones who say the right thing at the right time and step into difficult moments without adding more chaos to them. They are not built differently from you. They simply learned one quiet skill, letting the water settle before they look through it. That is the entire practice. That is what this video is about. 9 Stoic principles designed to help you calm the water every morning before the day begins to shake the table, before the noise arrives, before the reactive version of you speaks louder than the thoughtful one. Each idea builds on the previous one, so stay with it and do not rush ahead. The calm you are searching for does not wait at the end of the video. It begins the moment you choose to remain present. If this message already feels like something you needed today, like the video and share it with someone whose mind has been a little cloudy lately. Leave a comment and subscribe, because this is only the start. Now allow the water to become still. If you are ready to protect your peace today, write this in the comments. I pause. I breathe. I choose peace. Number 1, the morning is not just a time of day, it is a decision. Richard Waitley once said, "Lose an hour in the morning and you will spend the rest of the day searching for it." What most people fail to realize is that the morning does far more than simply begin your day. It sets the tone for everything that follows. It determines which version of you shows up, the reactive one or the reflective one. The Stoics treated their mornings with remarkable intention. They did not stumble blindly into the day. They prepared for it. Epictetus taught that one of the most important disciplines a person could develop was learning to guide their hegemonikon, a Greek word meaning the ruling faculty of the mind. It is the part of you that decides how to interpret everything that happens. Your morning is when that faculty is most delicate. You are not fully awake yet. Your defenses are lower. Emotional habits sit closer to the surface. That is exactly why what you choose to do first and what you choose to listen to first matters more than almost anything else. Think about the difference between waking up and immediately scrolling through your phone compared to waking up and sitting quietly for 5 minutes. Not formal meditation, just sitting there, noticing the light in the room, noticing your breathing, allowing yourself to arrive before the world begins pulling you into its noise. One of those mornings makes you a passenger in your own day. The other puts you behind the wheel. The Stoic morning practice was simple. It often began with something called premeditatio, a brief reflection on the day ahead. Not spiraling into worry, not imagining disasters, but calmly previewing what may come. What challenges might appear today? Where might I be tempted to react poorly? What kind of person do I want to be when those moments arrive? This is not pessimism, it is preparation, and there is a clear difference between the two. The first 15 minutes of your morning can quietly shape the emotional ceiling of your entire day, and most of us never stop to think about that. Try something tomorrow. Before reaching for your phone, ask yourself one simple question: what do I want to protect today? Maybe it is your patience, maybe your focus, maybe a relationship with someone you have been a little short with recently. Name it. Then carry that intention through the day like something fragile and valuable. That is a Stoic morning. Not complicated, not dramatic, simply intentional. If you want to take your morning seriously, type this in the comments right now. My morning, my intention, my day. Number 2, the Stoic practice of mastering your inner narrative. Marcus Aurelius expressed it clearly when he wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Most people assume their thoughts simply happen to them, like weather passing through the sky or traffic moving through a city. Something arrives without asking permission and disappears whenever it wants. But the Stoics challenged that belief directly. They did not claim that every thought you have is wrong. Instead, they offered something more precise. Your thoughts are not facts, and the stories you build from them are not necessarily reality. They are interpretations, and interpretations can be examined, questioned, and when necessary, replaced. The Stoics referred to this process as working with fantasia, the mental impressions that appear automatically when something happens. You receive a short reply from someone you care about, and instantly the impression appears. They are upset with me. You miss a deadline at work, and the thought fires back. I am failing. A friend cancels plans, and the mind whispers, I am not important. Each of these impressions feels convincing. They arrive quickly, confidently, almost like truth itself. But the Stoic question, the same one Marcus Aurelius asked himself again and again, is simple. Is this impression accurate, or is it just the first explanation my mind produced? That question may sound small, but it represents one of the most disciplined mental acts a person can practice. This becomes especially powerful in the morning. Early in the day, your inner narrative is already forming. Before your first conversation, before your first task, you are quietly telling yourself a story about how the day will unfold, whether you are ready for it, whether people will cooperate or disappoint you, whether you deserve rest or must push harder. Most of that narrative runs automatically and never gets questioned. The Stoic practice, usually called the evening review, can also be incredibly powerful in the morning. Sit quietly for 3 minutes and ask, what story am I already telling about today? Do not judge it, and do not force yourself into fake positivity. Just notice it. Because you cannot question something you cannot see. There is something quietly radical about this approach. In a culture that encourages people to feel every emotion but rarely asks them to examine the interpretations behind those emotions, the Stoic path offers something different. Not suppression, not denial, but thoughtful questioning. Is the story my mind just handed me actually helpful, or is it simply frightening me? Epictetus said it plainly. People are not disturbed by events themselves, but by the judgments they attach to those events. The event is neutral. The judgment belongs to you, and that means the suffering attached to it can be worked with. This morning, before the world grows loud, try one small exercise. Notice the story already forming in your mind and ask yourself a simple question. Is this story true, or is it just familiar? Sometimes the two are the same, but very often they are not, and recognizing the difference can become a form of freedom that no outside circumstance can take away from you. If you are finished letting your first thought control your entire day, comment this: "My story does not control me." Number 3, the difference between hearing and truly listening. Epictetus once made a statement that sounds simple until you think deeply about it. We have 2 ears and 1 mouth so that we can listen twice as much as we speak. The difference between hearing and listening is greater than it seems. Hearing is passive. Sound enters your ears, your brain processes it, and you move on. Listening is active. It requires attention and effort. It means engaging with what is actually being communicated, not only the words themselves, but also the meaning behind them, the emotion underneath them, even the things that remain unspoken. Stoicism encourages you to become a listener, not only to other people, but also to yourself and to the stories your mind begins telling before you have gathered enough information to understand what is happening. This pattern appears in everyday life constantly. Something small occurs. A partner's tone sounds distant. A colleague does not reply to your message. Your boss overlooks you during a meeting. Within seconds, your mind builds an entire narrative. They are angry with me. They do not respect me. I must have done something wrong. Or the opposite interpretation appears. They are being unfair. They are threatened by me. This situation is impossible. Both stories can feel completely convincing. Both may also be completely wrong. The Stoics described this first mental reaction as phantasia, the impression your mind forms immediately after an event. And they warned about one important thing: just because an impression feels true does not make it true. Epictetus repeated this idea often, reminding his students that people are not upset by events themselves, but by the thoughts they attach to those events. That insight is not just philosophy. It is a practical explanation of how the human mind behaves when pressure appears. Listening first means pausing long enough to question your own narrative. It means asking yourself, am I responding to what truly happened or to the story I created in 30 seconds? This becomes especially important in relationships. Very often what appears to be a conflict about small issues is actually a conflict about interpretation. A story one person formed from an impression the other person never even realized they were giving. If you take only one practice from this video, let it be this. When you feel yourself reacting to someone, pause and ask, what am I actually hearing? And am I certain that's what they meant? That single question can dissolve arguments that might otherwise last for days. Prove to yourself that you are a listener, not just a reactor. Write this below. I listen first, always. Number 4, the Stoic art of not being moved by noise. Seneca wrote something that cuts straight through the chaos of modern life. If a man does not know which port he is sailing toward, no wind is favorable. We live in one of the noisiest eras in human history, not only in sound, but in information, in constant demands for attention, in endless urgencies competing for your focus. Every notification, every opinion, every headline insists it deserves your attention right now. The Stoics could never have imagined our digital world, yet the problem they described, a mind pulled in every direction, unable to remain centered, is exactly the problem we face today, perhaps more intensely than ever. Seneca wrote his letters surrounded by the noise of Rome itself, an empire filled with political tension, shifting power, and even an emperor who would eventually order his death. Yet somehow he still wrote about inner stillness with such clarity that his words feel written for our time. His insight was simple but powerful. Before you can ignore noise, you must know your direction. Not in vague ideas like, I want to be happy or I want success, but in clear, lived terms. What type of person do you want to be this week? What conversation have you been avoiding that you know must happen? What single action today would make the day feel well used? When you know the port you are sailing toward, the noise around you does not disappear, but it loses its power to steer your ship. You can hear it, acknowledge it, but you no longer have to follow it. A simple morning practice can support this. Write 3 or 4 sentences before the day begins. Not a long journal entry, just clarity. Today, what matters most is this. When I become distracted, I will return to this. When noise pulls my attention, I will ask whether it moves me closer to or further from this. That is all. Not a productivity system or complicated framework, just a compass written in your own words before the world begins to speak. The noise will still appear, it always does, but now you will have something to return to. If noise has been steering your life lately, say this in the comments. I know my direction. Noise means nothing. Number 5, anger is always optional. Marcus Aurelius once wrote that anger is like an acid that harms the vessel holding it more than the object it is poured upon. Let's talk about anger, because this is where the principle of listen first, react later gets tested the hardest. Anger often feels righteous. When it rises inside you, it feels justified. It feels like fairness, like self-respect, like the only reasonable response to what just happened. And sometimes, something like anger can be appropriate, a firm boundary, a clear no, a refusal to allow yourself to be diminished. But most of the time, what we call anger is actually a kind of short circuit. The body's threat response overrides the mind's reasoning, and in 30 seconds we say things we never meant to say or destroy something that took months to build. The Stoics did not say to suppress anger. That is a common misunderstanding. What they actually taught is more interesting. They said anger itself is not fully under your control, but acting on it always is. The feeling may arrive uninvited, but the choice to let it speak, to let it guide your actions, that decision remains yours. Marcus Aurelius practiced separating what he called first movements from deliberate action. A first movement is the rush of heat when someone insults you or the tension in your chest when plans suddenly collapse. That is not a moral failure. That is simply your nervous system reacting. But what you do after that moment, that reveals character. When anger began to rise, Marcus Aurelius would ask himself a different question than most people. Instead of asking, "Is my anger justified?" he would ask, "What am I actually afraid of right now?" Because behind many bursts of anger, there is often fear. Fear of losing something, fear of appearing weak, fear of being wrong, fear of losing control of a situation. When you recognize the fear beneath the anger, the emotion begins to look different. It no longer feels like power. It starts to look more like a signal asking for attention. And signals can be listened to and understood rather than exploded outward. Next time you feel that surge of anger, pause and ask, "What am I afraid of right now?" Then wait for the honest answer. What you discover may surprise you. For anyone who has ever spoken words they later regretted, write this: "I feel it, but I don't follow it." Number 6, the discipline of first listening to yourself. At the ancient temple of Apollo in Delphi, there was a simple inscription that later became central to Stoic thinking: know yourself. There is a version of listening that almost nobody talks about, and it may be the most difficult of all. Listening to yourself. Not the loud voice in your mind that constantly comments on everything, but the quieter one beneath it. The voice that whispers, "This situation is making you anxious, and you do not know why yet, or you are about to say something you might regret, or you have been avoiding the truth about this for weeks." The Stoics practiced something called self-attention, the habit of observing yourself with a small distance, almost the way you would observe a friend you care about, with honesty but also patience. This is not the same as self-criticism. Self-criticism is loud and harsh. I always ruin things. I'm too sensitive. I'm not disciplined enough. That voice does not offer information. It simply punishes you. Self-attention is different. It is curious instead of condemning. I notice I've been irritated for 3 days. What's underneath that? Am I tired? Am I avoiding something difficult? Has something shifted in how I feel about a relationship or responsibility? Marcus Aurelius practiced a habit that modern psychology has rediscovered: brief daily reflection through writing. At the end of the day, he would write honestly. Where did I act from my best self today? Where did I fall short? Not because he believed he was broken, but because he believed paying attention was the path to growth. This kind of self-listening builds what the Stoics called equanimity, not the forced calm of someone pretending everything is fine, but the grounded steadiness of someone who knows themselves well enough not to be constantly surprised by their own reactions. You cannot listen clearly to the world if you never listen to yourself. These practices work together. One makes the other possible. If you are truly doing the work of self-awareness, write this: I know myself. I trust myself. Number 7, the Stoic practice of impermanence as a morning tool. The Stoics carried a daily reminder expressed in 2 Latin words: memento mori, remember that you will die. At first, this may sound heavy or even dark, but stay with it because its purpose is actually the opposite. This idea is one of the most misunderstood Stoic practices. People hear it and imagine something grim or pessimistic. But the Stoics did not use it to become gloomy. They used it to become clear. When you genuinely reflect on mortality for even a few minutes in the morning, it strips away the noise of unnecessary concerns. The problems that felt urgent yesterday suddenly appear smaller. The resentment you have been carrying begins to feel costly. The conversation you have been avoiding begins to feel important. Think honestly about it. If you truly understood that today might be your last morning, not in a frightening sense, but in a clarifying one, what would you listen to differently? Would you spend the first 20 minutes of your day replaying an irritating comment someone made? Would you allow minor frustrations like traffic or delays to ruin your mood? Probably not. Epictetus often reminded his students of a powerful truth. He himself had been a slave, living with almost no control over his external circumstances. Yet those who learned from him described him as one of the most genuinely free people they had ever known. Why? Because he understood something deeply. The one thing no one could take from him was his ability to choose his response, his inner freedom, his ruling mind. Practicing memento mori gently each morning reminds you that your time is limited, and therefore your attention, your reactions, and your inner state are incredibly valuable. It is not a reminder to fear life. It is a reminder to wake up to it. If today truly mattered, what would you choose to listen to? And perhaps more importantly, what would you choose not to react to? Let those questions stay with you before your feet even touch the floor. If today is the day you stop wasting energy on things that do not truly matter, write this in the comments. Today matters. I will not waste it. Number 8, building a life that does not constantly need defending. Epictetus once shared a quiet but powerful insight when he said, "A wise man does not grieve over what he lacks, but instead takes joy in what he has." Sit with this for a moment. Much of our reactivity, much of our inability to listen first, often has very little to do with the present moment. It comes from a life that somehow feels fragile, a sense of identity that needs constant protection, validation, and defense. When your identity depends on always being right, every disagreement feels like a personal attack. When your value is tied only to what you produce, every delay feels like failure. When your sense of safety relies on other people's approval, every unclear signal becomes something you feel forced to decode and control. The Stoics had a name for this pattern. They called it slavery to externals, placing your well-being in things that are outside your control. And they believed something very practical. The more your peace depends on things you cannot control, the more anxious and reactive you become. The answer was not cold detachment or emotional numbness. It was something deeper, rootedness. Building an inner life so steady that external events can move you without knocking you off balance. You can feel disappointment without falling into despair. Feel frustration without turning hostile. Feel love without becoming dependent. This is what Epictetus pointed to when he spoke about prohairesis, the will, the power of choice that is truly yours. No one can take that from you. People may take your reputation, your property, your health, even your freedom, but they cannot take the quality of your response. When your sense of self is built around that, around the quality of your attention and choices, rather than the outcomes you produce, you stop feeling the need to defend yourself all the time. You can listen, you can pause, you can respond from a place that is not constantly bracing for impact. This change does not happen overnight. It is a practice. But even the first steps tend to bring relief. Start small. Identify one external outcome you are gripping too tightly right now. Something you are treating as essential to your sense of being okay. Then ask yourself what it would feel like to hold it more lightly. Not to stop caring, just to stop gripping. That is the work. Quiet, private, and powerful. If you are building something unshakable within yourself, write this below. I am rooted. Nothing can shake me. Number 9, the practice. What a Stoic morning can actually look like. Zeno of Citium, the founder of Stoicism, once said, "Well-being is achieved little by little, and yet it is no small thing." Everything we have discussed means very little if it stays theoretical. So let's bring it into reality. Let's imagine what a morning built on these ideas might look like, not as a strict routine, but as a simple practice that genuinely shifts something in your day. Imagine a man named David. He works a demanding job. He has a family. His mornings used to begin the same way many people's do. Alarm rings, immediate phone check, instant flood of emails and headlines, stress rising before he even gets out of bed, irritable at breakfast, arriving at work already tense, already behind, already reactive. Sound familiar? So he tried something different, nothing extreme, not a complicated 2-hour routine, just 15 quiet minutes structured differently. He wakes up 5 minutes earlier than usual. He sits on the edge of the bed. No phone, just a slow breath. Then he asks himself one question. What do I want to protect today? Maybe it is patience with his children. Maybe it is calm during a difficult meeting. Maybe it is a conversation he has been avoiding at work. He does not rehearse it in his mind. He simply notes it. Today I will need the pause. Then he reads one paragraph. Not the news, not social media. Just a small piece from Meditations or something he wrote to himself the night before. Something that reminds him who he wants to be. Then he starts his day. The emails still arrive. The difficult coworker still sends the passive-aggressive message. Traffic is still terrible. But something is different, not the circumstances, the posture he carries into them. When the irritating message appears, there is a pause that used to be missing. He notices the reaction rising, and quietly he asks himself, does this deserve my peace today? Sometimes the answer is yes, sometimes it is no. But the question itself creates space. And in that space, his better self gets a chance to appear. This is not transformation through inspiration. It is transformation through repetition, through choosing again and again, in small moments that seem insignificant, to listen before reacting, to allow the wiser part of your mind to speak. Zeno himself lived a very ordinary life by the standards of his time. He was not an emperor or a general. He was a merchant who lost everything in a shipwreck. He wandered into a bookstore, read about Socrates, and spent the rest of his life exploring one question: how should a person live well? His answer, when stripped to its essence, was simple. Virtue is the only true good, and virtue is practiced in small moments, one after another, day after day. The morning is where that practice begins. No matter what yesterday looked like, write this and mean it. Every morning is a fresh start. Take a breath for a moment. We have covered a lot together, and I want to make sure none of it disappears the moment you leave this video. So let's distill everything into one simple idea. The quality of your life is largely shaped by the quality of your reactions, not by what happens to you, not by luck or circumstance or approval or achievements, but by what you do with the space between an event and your response. That space is real, and you can widen it. You can learn to live there, calmly, clearly, without being controlled by whatever appears next in your day. The Stoics were not perfect people. Marcus Aurelius struggled with anxiety. Epictetus lived as a slave. Seneca made decisions he later regretted. They were flawed human beings who returned every morning to the same simple question: what kind of person do I want to be today? They discovered that asking the question consistently, with humility, without expecting perfection, was itself the practice. Not arriving at the answer, but asking again and again. Tomorrow morning, before the noise floods in, before the phone pulls your attention away, before the day takes control, pause. Ask yourself, what do I want to protect today? Then listen, not to everything, but to what truly matters, and respond from that place. That is the philosophy. That is the morning practice. That is the lesson thoughtful minds have returned to for more than 2,000 years. You already know how to begin. You knew it even before pressing play on this video. This was simply the reminder. If this message resonated with you, take a moment to like the video. It helps more people discover this kind of content when they need it most. Leave a comment and share which idea impacted you the most, or simply drop the final affirmation below so others can read it and feel encouraged. Share this with someone who might need a calmer morning, and subscribe to Unshakeable Mind if you want more content like this. Real conversations about living thoughtfully, not perfectly. Thank you for being here. Now go build your morning.